Welcome to the Port to Port podcast. This week we're joined by Sasi Prabhakaran. Sasi's been in the industry for well over 20 years, sailed to the rank of second engineer before coming ashore and spending 5 years with Maersk, up to senior technical superintendent. He left there to join Svitzer, and more recently he finds himself as the director of maritime assets for Abu Dhabi ports. In this episode, we talk about all things from his early career, how he found himself into the maritime industry, and what his thoughts are for the future and his passion about the industry as a whole. He's a light-hearted guy and he's a lot of fun to have on the podcast. So I hope you enjoy. So today we're joined by Sasi. So Sasi, we've known each other for on and off for a few years. Don't worry for anyone from AD Ports. I'm not trying to poach you, but we're delighted to have you on the Port to Port podcast. I suppose I'm going to murder an introduction for yourself, but it'd be good to hear if you can obviously do your own intro and tell us a bit about yourself and who you are.
Yeah, hi Gordon. It's nice to be on a podcast. It's my first, so yeah, that's a good one. So I've been now in the maritime industry for 26.5 years. Started in 1999 in July as a trainee cadet, and then moved up the ranks and I sailed on different types of vessels, from containers, ro-ro, tanker vessels, both product as well as VLCCs, and I finished my sailing period on the LNG tankers. So the last 5 years of my sailing career, from 2007 until early 2012, has been on the LNG tankers, the new generation. Then it was quite state-of-the-art vessels, the dual-fuel diesel-electric vessels, first of the lot, I think. And that's when I was with Maersk throughout, AP Moller-Maersk Group. And then in 2012, I got the opportunity to move ashore as a technical superintendent. And that was in Singapore. So the role was in Singapore. I was there in Singapore for about 7 years, close to, managing container vessels, and from Singapore I moved to Mumbai, also managing container vessels there, different sizes, feeder vessels all the way up to close to 14k TEU vessels as well. And so in the course of that, I was promoted to senior technical superintendent. And in 2022, after the Mumbai period was the COVID period, it came with its own challenges. And 2022, I got to move to Svitzer. That was at that time it was another branch of Maersk, the towage and the marine services vertical of Maersk. So I was a fleet manager in Svitzer, in Dubai, and from that role, after a year, there was some restructuring, and I was the regional technical head of that region, which is a region that spanned, it was called AMEA, Asia, Middle East, Africa. So it spanned from Philippines to Morocco. And Africa was part of it as well. It was interesting. It was a different set of challenges, more into offshore industry and the marine services industry. And from there, I moved to Abu Dhabi ports. Now, presently, I'm the director of Marine Assets with Abu Dhabi ports, the maritime cluster of Abu Dhabi ports. More of a corporate role, in the sense that trying to recommend and influence certain, whether it's new technologies or operational excellence, within the maritime cluster of different business units and things like that. That's where I stand now. So yeah,
awesome. Mm-hmm. And still plenty of years ahead of you as well. So it's quite a career. There's no doubt about that. It's pretty incredible just to hear it, and even the date. So sitting senior tech, was that senior tech super is 2022, or was that fleet manager?
No, senior technical superintendent was in 2016, beginning of 2016.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fair play.
And then the fleet manager role in Svitzer was in 2022. Yeah.
Right, got you. So obviously, if we go way back to the beginning, what was your introduction to the industry? How did you? Everybody seems to have a different way of how they come in. What was did you have any family in sailing or?
No, I did not actually. It is interesting. One of my my niece's husband, sorry, my cousin sister's husband, he was working abroad in a company called Torrey Harris. They were into seafood packaging and seafood delivery and stuff like that. So he was exposed to this company called Maersk. I wasn't. So it was people did struggle with how to pronounce Maersk. So it was that different ways of pronouncing it. So so he was the one who said it's a good company. There was this interviews. They had these entrance examination. That's how we call in India. If coming out of senior high school or like in the 12th grade, there was this engineering entrance examination. So Maersk had come up with a similar. They had tied up with a institution called AMET. It still exists, AMET in Chennai, India. So they had tied up with them, and they had a interview. It was quite stretched out. It means it was quite an event for us. Then it was about a week, and there were different type of. They had PILI as well then, and written examinations, and they zeroed in on about 45 of us. It was close to 2,000 if I'm not mistaken. There was about 40 odd, I guess, about similar number on the nautical side. So I selected the engineering side. So that was a kind of screening process, and how I got into it.
How old were you then?
So really well.
Sorry, how old were you back then?
I was 18. Then.
18. What did your mum and dad say when you said I'm going to go sailing?
Mum was quite okay. My mum's side, as in my grandparents on the mum's side, they were quite okay. My father was not so keen. Yes, he wanted to. For me, I was a bit clueless, honestly. I was doing Bachelor of Science in Chemistry then. Why? Not so sure, but it was not. I was not so too fond of chemistry or something like that. But I was doing that. And probably my father also recognized that that's not the right path. But he was not so happy that I'm going away at that age, and I've never kind of prior to that, I had not left the country, and I've not traveled abroad. In fact, that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was my first foray into flying as well. So I've not flown. It's mostly ran transport. So it was exciting. It was interesting. But thinking of it now, whether in the present day and age, it is quite surprising. There was no, which is why I would like to, it was Maersk had arranged it so well. Those days there was no phones or nothing of that sort international. I was traveling to Hong Kong, joining a ship.
Yeah,
and it was done on well. It was quite great. Quite an interesting time. Thinking, I still have some photographs from back then.
Yeah, you should send me them. We'll put them up. You can't beat it. I always love it because you speak to so many people, and this is the thing we obviously in our day job and the recruitment side, we get so many people who get in touch with us that are second engineers, chief mates, and they're not too sure what they want to do when they come ashore. They're not sure if they want to come ashore, but they also don't realise half the time of what is out there for them. And then obviously you've got some people that are very career driven. Obviously you must be to an extent yourself. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there's obviously an element of that. But then there's other people that just they want to come home and they take a superintendent job and that's where they want to stay. They enjoy it. They love the docking and dry docking.
True. I've seen all types of people on board the vessels. I've seen during even my cadet days, the trainee days in 2000s and all that. There were certain individuals who were very career driven. They were very clear at that age as well what they want from their life. But then most of them are quite happy to and just see where life takes them or where career takes them. And I probably came in that bracket. Okay, now it's changed. Probably the first half of my life, I was a bit, let's see where this career takes me. And maybe post 35, maybe until 35 it was that way. So,
right, okay.
Then slowly, when after you became senior superintendent, then you realize you're doing the same thing. You need some more drive, need more clarity on what you need to do, because then you realize, at that age when you start off, it was the target was to become chief engineer. That was your ultimate goal. Then the targets keep shifting.
Yeah.
Now, then of course, then you realize, yeah, it's not just about being there. It's nothing wrong with that person. There are a lot of people who are still sailing, and they are absolutely clear that that's what they want. They want the time with their family. The people do mention about the time away from family, but one good part about sailing is that you get to plan your vacations. You get your 6 months, fixed 6 months, if you're a chief engineer, maybe more, and then you get to plan your vacations. But it's always greener on the other side. So when you come ashore, then you think, okay, that's better life. when you were there, you feel, okay, you want your time, the evenings with your family, so that you don't get, sometimes. So, yeah, it's
Is there any voyages that you did that you thoroughly enjoyed or really stuck in your head?
Yeah, the tanker life. Though people say it's less of a show, but my life in the tanker vessels used to be wonderful, because it's a. I'm talking about, like I said, I quit sailing in 2012. But the tankers then in early 2000s, once we had a voyage from all the way from Turkey to Korea around Africa. So you can imagine it was about 45 days voyage, and it was wonderful in the sense that we used to have parties on board, and the Saturdays used to have, it used to be good times. And on the VLCCs, we used to play cricket on deck. So with all these new regulations and the more stringent safety requirements, I've been culprit of that as well. When I came ashore, whether discussions with the vessel that certain things why are we doing certain things, but and whether it was safe to play cricket on deck, I'm not so sure. But we used to have, we used to play, and it used to be good. Basketball, we used to play basketball. Like I'm not a big basketball fan, but we used to have different. There was a lot of time that the social life is probably, that's one I understand is lacking these days. We used to have a good time on board. There was no internet, thankfully, then. So there was nothing much to be done on board apart from when your shift is over. You used to sit around, have a few beers, and have those discussions. And social life was a lot better. So that long voyages used to be, it was very memorable, those voyages.
Awesome. I've got a question before we go too far into, obviously go too far ahead. If you hit the ball overboard, is that 6?
Pardon?
If you hit the ball overboard when you're playing cricket?
No, that's out. That's out.
Oh, right. Okay. So you don't even get 6, Phil? You don't get 6 runs?
So we get, I think it was more, we limited ourselves to 4.
Right.
And it used to be, if you can hit a straight 6, yeah, fine, because then the accommodation is straight. So you hit the straight 6. We used to focus on the quality of the batsmanship rather than straight drives and playing the beat.
I've only played cricket twice in my life, so yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't say I've got a lot of class that I could control it.
The ball making itself was an event, in the sense that so as a trainee, when this happened, this voyage is when I was a trainee. So we had we used to be given off on a Saturday afternoon and or Saturday morning to make these cricket balls. It used to be made out of probably with the electric tapes and rags and all that. So, but it's balls, the tape balls, and good fun.
Good. Elastic bands are always good, but I suppose they're solid. They'd be solid if you put too many bands on it. It'd be like a brick.
Yeah, it used to be. Yeah, I think that's what I said. When you look at a lot of focus these days on safety. I mean, the safety focus was there then as well.
Yeah,
but practicality is kind of, now it's a bit more micromanagement. Unfortunately, that's been the case. So we'll get there. But like I said, there's a lot of benefits out of having this data transparency and a lot of data coming in. But one of the flip side of that is, like, everybody wants things immediately. A lot of things are being asked for by the vessel, and a lot of focus on that, on a lot of which is, I'm not sure whether it's good or bad, to be honest. But the fun part is probably missing. It's gone away from the sailing. That's my perception, because when I'm as a superintendent as well, when I'm been on board the ships, inspecting vessels. The smoke rooms used to be very lively back then, But nowadays, when I go to the smoke room, there's dust on the sofa. Then you realize nobody's been here for a while, and everybody heads home to the room to talk with their family because internet is available. It's a good as well. I'm not saying it's bad, but the social life on board, a lot of things, interactions related to the experience sharing has kind of taken a back seat.
Yeah. So it sounds like you obviously think it's a sad thing that's been lost to obviously seafarers of today. That
I indeed believe that, and I think a lot of things that I've learned has been through these sessions where people are quite relaxed, and there could be a lot of discussions. People discuss a lot of things, what happened during their cadet days, how the sailing was back then, and specifically certain events. There might be some interesting dry docking experience that they've had, and they will there's always a funny side to it, but then through that we learn a lot of things and how to avoid certain obvious mistakes, and then it used to be quite a good, and even the coffee breaks and alcohol did play a part. I'm not saying it there's I've seen the bad things that happen due to overconsumption of alcohol on board. So do I think it was good to? I'm not so sure, because if there should have been more on the control aspect of it, because these events, Saturday night dinners used to be an event, and the dinner used to be served at 5 and it used to extend till 9. And there were a lot of discussions happening. A lot of the hierarchy used to get broken down during those meetings. So I think that's something that today's seafarers would miss.
Yeah.
For sure.
Did you have any mentors then when you were at sea, particularly? Was there anyone that really sticks out for your?
So there were many such mentors, and starting with my peers as well. So there are a few like I'm still in touch with. So the cadet who I joined with, Viraj Parab, he's with MSC now. He's a vessel manager with MSC, if I'm not mistaken.
In Cyprus?
In Cyprus, yeah. We're still in touch. We're good friends. We're stayed friends throughout. And so I learned a lot of things from him. Like, for example, I was always someone who was not so keen on going ashore, control leaves and all that. But he was the first to be, and he's dragged me along for many shore leaves and some great experiences, Yeah, so then, of course, some of the chief engineers which I've sailed with, especially one, Mr. Raymond Dadachanji. He's taught us a lot, and he's been a great mentor in the sense. Like, I've sailed with him 2 more times, and I met him ashore later when I was superintendent. It's not that he's sat. Yes, he did teach us. There was sessions, but it's more on how he went about his work. And the meticulous way he does his work, and there's a lot of things to learn from such people. And of course, my first ashore when I sailed with him as well, Clyde Perez. He's now CTO with Zodiac Maritime. So Clyde was I've sailed with him as second engineer. He was second engineer. I was fourth engineer. And then when I came ashore, he was the fleet manager as well. So he has mentored me in his own way, which is very different from me, very, very relaxed, that kind of atmosphere. And it was good working with him, because we had I felt I had since I've sailed with him, he was my second engineer, then there was always this comfort factor. Like, I could call him initially. Of course, there's always this hesitation when when you come ashore. Means, what is the right thing to do? Would it be what is the right approach? So at that moment, having Clyde as a fleet manager was very helpful. Listen, I could approach him in the middle of the night, give him a call, and he would be okay with it. So Yeah, so I have had a few, and then Varun, he's my classmate, he's my batchmate. It's like Viraj. He's with Columbia Ship Management right now. He's a director there, as a technical director, if I'm not mistaken, in Singapore, and he's also has kind of helped me a lot in. I'm not the best when it comes to being very structured and that kind of. So he's helped me with that aspect. And
don't be so modest.
No, but I'm not very structured, honestly. So that aspect has been helpful. There are a few more, but these names do stick out.
Brilliant.
More than the rest.
It's tip of the hat to them all. Then fair play. So obviously, when you got to chief engineer, you sailed as chief engineer. How long was it between?
I've had I was certified as chief engineer, but I've not sailed as a chief engineer.
Right, okay.
So I got my chief engineer's ticket, and in 2010. Then I quit sailing in 2012, but I was second engineer on the LNG carriers.
Right, got you.
Yeah.
And then you came ashore and moved to Singapore.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Were you married with kids then, or?
Yeah, I'm married, and I got married in 2009. So that also kind of played a part in having to moving ashore, in the sense that it's always when you have a family, you want to. Okay, my first kid was born in 2018, but that was the whole. The plan was to try and find a job ashore and move ashore, and that would be helpful, So when you have family, seeing them grow up and all that, it matters a lot. So that's one of the reasons. I got married in 2009.
And did your wife move to Singapore with you then? Did you both move? Awesome.
Yes, yeah. She's been with me throughout. Wherever I've worked, she's been with me. She's been a big strength as well. So I've not had to focus much on the. I was able to focus on my work.
Yeah.
No excuses there. So if I did perform well at work, it was just purely my fault.
You should never tell. You should be like, no, my wife's not here with me. I'm really missing her.
There's no reason for me to complain on that part.
Yeah, awesome.
So she's been quite a pillar of strength for me.
Brilliant. So you've obviously, I don't want to just dwell on like the kind of CV aspect of obviously your job, but you've lived and worked in how many countries? Is that 4?
So Singapore, India, UAE, 3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah. So what there's massive differences obviously between Singapore and Abu Dhabi. How much of a transition was that for you? Was that hard to adjust to, or did you take to it? Did you enjoy it?
It is. There is a difference, of course. There's difference. The energies are different. They both have its own, has its own. Even India, for that matter, there's a lot of, what each country has to deliver or has to offer from an employment perspective and a maritime perspective are quite different. But one aspect which is similar, like one good aspect is being in an organization like Maersk back then. There is a lot of focus on the culture. So when you step inside a Maersk office, it's whether it's Apapa or Singapore, it feels the same. So that was very helpful. From a professionally, there's not been much change, I would say, from each offices and the work cultures aspect. Personally, yes, there's been a big change. Like Singapore, I've studied there, so there's a lot of comfort level, a lot of places I know, and a lot of people I know there. So that helps with the comfort factor. In India, it was similar, even though India comes with its own challenges, but there was a lot of energy in Mumbai, positive energy, so it was me being from India. It was more, visits to the family or visits to just more fun. Like with you have family around in Mumbai as well. So that aspect was the one thing to look forward. And when it came to Dubai or as Abu Dhabi as a workspace now, personally, like from a personal standard of living perspective for the family, it's great. It's brilliant. It's what Dubai has to offer as a city, and even Abu Dhabi as a workspace. Culture wise, it's different. It's good. It's a good learning experience for me. It's because it's the first time I stepped out of a particular organization to a new organization. So it comes with there's a lot of energy, different energy to that organization, how they want to go forward, like what is their vision and what they want. They're aspiring towards reaching a level of the top levels of a maritime organization. So that comes with the excitement of possibly unlearn and relearn, and that kind of process. It's quite interesting. So that way I'm challenged in a different manner here, which I find quite happy about and quite interesting as well.
Just to jump back before we obviously talk about your time in Abu Dhabi here, you obviously went from fleet manager to regional head with Svitzer. When you were fleet manager, how many vessels and how many team members did you have below you then compared to obviously the regional head?
So in Svitzer, the fleet manager role was in Svitzer. So it was a bit decentralized structure. So in the regional, we had different operations, about 13 operations in the region. And there was about 100 plus vessels, tugboats, pilot boats, marine assets. Yeah. So it was again more of providing, there was the technical team there was a bit small. So initially as a fleet manager, the operations, procurement and technical was reporting to the fleet manager, which with the regional technical manager role, we decided to expand the technical scope. So initially it was just one technical manager and one regional superintendent. From there it moved to two cluster technical managers, one dry docking manager, one performance manager. So these were the performance manager role was introduced because I personally saw there's a lot of scope also with Svitzer going the decarbonization path.
Yeah.
It needed a bit of focus there. So the technical team was expanded to kind of support the pain points, which is dry docking and fuel optimization and things like that. And the decarbonization from the global office in Copenhagen, they wanted to drive that aspect as well. So that was the whole idea of that. And like I said, there was 13 operations starting from Philippines all the way to Morocco.
Yeah.
So it was, and the cultures were different. The way of working was different. So it was that way. The cluster was also split in that manner. There was a kind of a French-speaking cluster and a French-Arabic cluster and the English-speaking cluster like Philippines, Bangladesh, India. Then we had Morocco and Mozambique, Angola. That's okay. That would come in the Portuguese-speaking, but it was a non-English-speaking cluster and the English-speaking cluster kind of. We had the right candidates addressing that. It was interesting. It's quite a unique kind of an experience.
It would be. Is it harder to do, see, in terms of the performance management, is it harder to do that with the smaller vessels? Or is it more controlled?
So it is the ease or the unease of it would be depending on how it's structured. So when I came in from the large vessels to managing the smaller vessels or operating the smaller vessels, I came with a preconceived notion that it would be easy. That was my biggest misconception or misunderstanding because being smaller, if at all, it only makes it more difficult because it has all the equipment that's present in an engine room of a large vessel. It's just that compressed and it's squeezed into a smaller space. So it comes with its own challenges. And so coming back to your question, it is how the organization is structured or how we have the data streamlined, how digitized a particular organization or a particular fleet is, and the quality of the data. It's the same for all. So if we have all these sorted out, in the sense, if we have the the quality of the right amount of data coming in. Since data inputs are more streamlined, the quality of the data, there's a structure of around how to monitor the quality of the data. And if you have a structure set up for the right analysis of that data, because a lot of the times what happens is we stop at a dashboard, which is just a data is, we receive the data and it's displayed on a dashboard. So a lot of times the mistake or the error that we end up doing is that we are happy with seeing a fancy dashboard. But the work actually starts from there. As in, we need to look at the dashboard and analyze the data coming in, put a plan in place to continuously improve what we see there. So it all depends on how structured we are in that, how good we are at setting up that. So I think it would be the same for a large or a small vessel. If we don't have these structures in place, we would find it challenging. But a larger fleet, the regulations, the regulatory requirements are such that we need a certain amount of, there's a minimum reporting, and which is quite extensive in a way. So these systems need to be set up. There's no choice around it. But for the smaller fleet, one challenge is these are not regulatory requirements, since they fall probably below the 500 gross tonnage requirements. So it's not required to kind of set up a system which is similar to a larger vessel, where we need to have these sensors in place with a daily fleet, the fuel reporting coming in and, reporting the same into a platform and that kind of stuff. So it needs to be driven by the organizations that, it's not a regulatory requirement, but it would be preferred that we do it in that way, because there's a component of operational excellence aspect to it, fuel optimization aspects to it, and reducing your OPEX aspect to it. So it's not just on the, and automatically it leads to emissions reduction. But even if you do not look at from a green or a sustainability perspective, there's a lot of value in investing in structure so that we are reducing their fuel consumption by doing such things. So operationally we improve and you reduce your operational costs as well. So that's one way to look at it. We don't, and automatically through those actions, we are reducing the emissions and providing a kind of a more robust, sustainable pathway.
Yeah, and I suppose it all trickles down to training in terms of how. I mean, obviously, I'm complete layman's terms here, but in terms of the RPM that the engine will be running at for certain parts of the operation, so if you can reduce that, you're not really seeing a difference.
There are a lot of ways to look at it. In ways from optimization perspective, one of the biggest ways to do or reduce a particular fuel consumption or emissions is the way we work. There are a lot of things. By changing the way we work, we can bring down the emissions by a lot. Looking at the aspects where where we can kind of reduce the idling period or a free running period. So there is in a small vessel. Let's take an example of a small vessel. If you can plan it better, we don't need to. If you're going to receive a vessel from a pilot station, if you plan it well, you don't need to go we can go at the most optimal speed, where the fuel consumption is minimum. But if you don't plan it well, maybe we are too late to it. We need to speed up to receive because we are late in kind of sending the tugs out to receive the vessel. So if you plan it well, if you have half an hour to receive the vessel, then we can probably do it at the most optimal speed. Instead, if you're given 15 minutes to do it, we need to speed up. So speed up their consumption. So those ones we can review, analyze where we can improve that, and that kind of aspect. The simple things of
what causes the difference there. So is that vessels essentially? Is that just poor organisation from the vessel that's coming in, or is that a case of it's just timing wise, and it was really
there could be a lot of factors. So sometimes we cannot adhere to it because, of course, if it's a very busy port, there could be a lot of vessels lined up. Maybe one vessel getting delayed, or one vessel getting delayed to depart for whatever cargo delays or whatever, that could offset the whole thing. So it's the planning can be done, but at least we should be ready for from a planning perspective, we should be ready for the best case scenario. Okay, of course, there are variables to it. If that kind of throws the plan out of the window, then okay, then we can come up with a backup plan and how we can reduce the impact of that can be done. But simple planning ways, I think, if that can be addressed, that would resolve. Like from a marine, I'm looking at the smaller assets perspective here. But larger vessels for the tugs and all that. So I'm talking about the small assets, how we can
Sorry.
Yeah, but for the large vessels, a lot of it is we can possibly focus on the voyage aspect from but on time arrival. There are a lot of stakeholders involved, the ports, so there are other aspects involved in it. So it's not always possible. The just-on-time arrival is a good concept. Everybody acknowledges that. There are a few of the bulk carrier terminals who have these virtual systems where they can kind of line up the vessels, and those things are being done, but still there's a long way to go. That's what I understand presently. It's not as easy as it's mentioned. But during the voyage, maintaining constant power, having any changes being made, addressing those changes immediately, or if you're getting some instructions on changes of reduction in speed or reduction in power, if those matters are addressed timely, then it would help in going a long way in making sure that we are performing well for the voyage. So it makes a huge difference.
Awesome. In terms of, so obviously, if you've got the, would there be a business case for the likes of Svitzer to put in autonomous tugs? Would that work? Would that be?
Now that I'm not on Svitzer presently, so it might not be right to comment.
Or any tug owner.
See, there has to be there are autonomous vessels presently in AV ports as well. This is in the offshore Safine Green. We have autonomous vessel there for certain use cases. Yes, as a tug, I'm not so sure about that, to be honest. But there are certain use cases where probably we could try that out. But I'm not very sure on how.
Oh, it's obviously tricky.
How it would work. I'm not a big fan of it, honestly, because there are a lot of aspects where probably whether the delay because the master would need to be communicating, or the pilot needs to be communicating to the tug master constantly, and if that is not right there and possibly in a remote location, how would that impact? I'm not so sure. So yes, in future, if the systems are improved, or if it's a very if if it's the same set of vessels that are coming in and going, and if it's a ferry kind of a system, so possibly yes. But presently, I'm not a big fan of that. But certain offshore operations where we have a lot of manpower deployment required, and it's more for risky aspect, like using unmanned remotely operated vessel with the ROVs to for underwater inspections and all those kind of stuff. Yes.
Fair enough. What was the biggest changes then from obviously moving from that role? So you've been with essentially Maersk for a very, very long time, or the group, and then into Abu Dhabi ports. How did it come about? How did you enjoy the change, or did you enjoy the change initially, or was it quite an adjustment?
Yeah, it was slightly. I would say it was more slightly out of my comfort zone, moving. So which was what I was looking forward to. Maersk, of course, there's a long history and very established company. They have their processes, very kind of process-oriented kind of approach. Here, this is a company that's grown significantly in the last few years. So with that, it's more about setting those processes, or putting those processes in place, and those checks and balances, and how we can adapt to these. So how to be agile to these changes and things like that. So it was more something new to learn every day here, something new happening every day, and it is about more of how can I utilize all the experience that I've had from Maersk, all the best practices that I've learned, and how to implement here, and how to kind of bridge the gap, or kind of bring it up to the level that is expected. But that's been very exciting, and very supportive management as well here on that, on how we can adapt and how we can adopt these best practices into the fleet here.
Fair enough. So what is your job? What are you tasked with exactly then within the role?
So here there are two aspects. So as Director of Assets, Marine Assets, the role is more on how to influence the way of how to bring about like I said, that there are different business units. We have the large fleet vessels. We have the offshore vessels. We have the marine services as well. We have the subsea aspects as well. So there are different type of asset types, different type of business models, So how we can kind of bring about from a whole asset life cycle perspective, how we can give so more of a recommendatory role, provide them inputs, and support them with that. We have also something called a center, Unified Marine Command Center here, which we are getting all the data from different business units, analyzing them, providing some inputs on that, how we can optimize in a certain space, how we can bring about possibly a positive change in a certain area which we have noticed through the data coming in. This aspect we can or adopting new technologies, like for example, the high performance paints, comparing them with the market, how they have been performing the conventional paints, and kind of do some pilot projects and see how it works, and implement it fleet-wide. That kind of setting up, creating some business cases against certain new technologies or energy-saving devices. How does it work, and providing some inputs and technical data on that, and see which asset type would fit this well, and see whether that does make some business sense. So we are not in we are in a business, so we need to make a business case, a business sense to it. So we can't kind of adopt new tech just for the sake of it. That's my take on it. So do proper thorough analysis and see if it works, if it's working everywhere. And even in the case of alternate fuel, there's a lot of discussions around alternate fuel. Some of the alternate fuel, from an energy density perspective or from a availability perspective, it's quite challenging presently. So those aspects we need to review properly, thoroughly, before we just adopt it, because it's a popular option. It's a popular thing to do. That shouldn't be the case.
So
that kind of more of a recommendatory and advisory aspect, and influencing them and new technology, data-centric decision making and stuff.
What new technology, as long as you're okay to share it, what have you found really successful within Abu Dhabi ports?
No, we are. So if it makes sense, when it comes to there are electric tugboats. So the most powerful electric tugboat in the region is operated by us, in Khalifa port. Then the ones which are proven, we are adopting, like dual fuel LNG vessels. We do have them as well, and Ro-Ro vessels, because that's the LNG technology is more mature. And so that those kind of things are being done. So it is a mature technology, and it makes sense as well when it comes to there are more trained personnel to operate such vessels presently, and also when from an energy density perspective, it does make sense as well. Emissions perspective, even there are concerns around the methane slip and things like that, but the new generation, the high pressure vessels, high pressure engines that are in operation presently are well within the methane slip is well within limits. So it makes a lot of sense, and especially having them deployed, and if you have them deployed in the EU voyages, it makes very good business sense, because it would counter the, in fact, the penalties can be countered by operating the EU voyages on LNG, and in fact, we can create some surpluses out of it as well to offset.
Right.
Yeah, so all the decisions are like, it's not. I'm just from the technical side of things. I do some reviews, but the decision making is more on whether it makes business sense and if it is. If it adds value to our business, and that's how it is.
That's the main thing. Yeah, fair enough. In terms of, obviously, it's just everyone seems to be just throwing it out in terms of AI at the moment, or AI this, or different tools. What is there? Are you guys using? Are you?
There's a lot of adoption. Yes, there is a lot of adoption. From
what have you seen? What have you seen the best kind of business cases so far?
So there are adoptions, what are pilots being done or being thought of on cases like, let's say, on the safety aspect. For example, incident management and safety, where the cameras are located in different locations on the ship, which is being tried out presently, and we capture the way in different operational areas, I would say, not in private spaces, but how a certain individual behaves, or if there is any behavior related, or also bridge spaces, are they being kept unmanned, or if it is in a mooring station, how they're performing during their task, if there's a fatigue component to it. So that kind of continuous monitoring and the feedback and the analysis, that kind of stuff is being happening. And then also the cameras are helping us with would help us with the thermal monitoring as well, as in one of the key aspects of focus areas these days have been the engine room fires. Yeah. So these cameras kept at various key locations in the engine room, continuously monitoring, and if they are kind of finding any hotspots, kind of having a study around continuous monitoring and where are triggering these spikes in temperatures, or identifying the safety behavior. That's one aspect. Then there is the digital twin, which is often discussed, and would helping us with having the whole model ready and troubleshooting guidances, and that kind of level, it's happening. And also in certain areas where I would say the engine vibration monitoring, not the vibration monitoring systems that were existing a few years back. The more advanced ones are assisting us with probably understanding areas whether we need to actually do an overhaul or engine overhaul at a prescribed time. So we call it TBO. So to be overhaul intervals can be extended basis how an engine is performing. So unnecessarily, we don't need to open up an equipment that's functioning well. So possibly the behavior of the engine, how the engine, the operational vibrations or the operational frequency of the engine, if any variations or variances in that, how is that contributing towards how basis that, how can we predict the operation of the engine in future? So maybe we can address it that, okay, if it was supposed to be overhauled at 18,000 hours, basis the report or analysis, we can push it to 20,000 hours. So 20,000 hours during the life cycle of the term, it's also a cost-saving exercise. But cost-saving, not blind cost-saving. It is cost-saving basis some thorough data, and based on an equipment that's providing information, that's an approved equipment by the classification society. So there's always you have to manage the risks as well thoroughly by incorporating these approved systems and verified by class and things like that. So there are ways to incorporate those aspects into it. And these are some of the areas from the marine perspective what we are addressing. Also troubleshooting is one area where we can have the whole manual. So a click of this has happened, to identify, you have it as soft copy, like this is what you need to do immediately. And small use cases, I'm saying, but there's a lot of focus on it. But focus is more on how it can, I would say, not the fancy AI things, but more on address purely on how we can improve the day-to-day work, or how we can optimize the cost, from this exercise. That has to be. So, like I said, even an AI adoption needs a business case. So that it's being followed in that perspective, and there is active adoption, I would say, here.
Excellent, superb. Well, before we wrap up, I really appreciate your time. It's been really, really interesting from my perspective, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who will think the same. So you've obviously had an excellent career. There's no doubt about it, Sasi. But if you were to give any advice to someone that's either beginning their seafaring career or looking to come ashore for the first time, what would you? I know I'm obviously kind of hitting you in the spot here with this, but what would you say could be useful that you maybe wish you knew back then?
I think active learning is one aspect. Is when you're on board, sometimes we forget to. You're so focused on that because your workspace, you live in your workspace, right? So sometimes you forget to kind of self-train or maybe invest in yourself. So that's one aspect where when you have time or during your training is very important. So what you need to do 5 years ahead, 5 years down the line, I know it's difficult when I never had that. So that's my, if I could get into a time machine and go back to 2005 or 2006, that's one area I would, having these 5-year targets, what I would wish myself to be in 5 years time, and work towards that. And even though we do mention we don't get ample time on board, I think if you really you can find time, and there are times when you can possibly set aside that time for working on yourself, have targets on, whether it could be a management study, MBA, or doing a course, or just doing a diploma, upgrading yourself and training yourself. Find that that's one aspect where being in more structured organizations would help. That they do force you to go for certain trainings, and you need to set aside some time for training and things like that. So that's if that such a kind of structure is lacking, then probably you need to kind of invest. And at a young age, most of the seafarers, they start young, at least in India.
Yeah.
So after you reach chief engineer or a superintendent, so then if you are not trained, if you don't invest in yourself, you might get stuck in that particular role. You don't get the overall. So try and be prepared for those shifts in future, and try and be more adaptable to change. So change, it's not easy. We always say change is only constant, but it's tough. So being prepared by that, having investing in yourself, training, knowing the new tech, what's coming up from an engineer perspective, what is the new technology, understand that. If you can try and invest and understand all that, what's coming up, and that would kind of help yourself. And for myself, having undergone a MBA course myself, kind of opened up my viewpoint and simple things. I always thought I was a good manager. I realized I wasn't. So it's sometimes helpful to undergo these trainings and understand the perspective from experienced hands, like what leadership is about, and what being a manager is truly about. It's not about yourself. It's about it's about the team and things like that, and how to avoid yes men in your team. More than have a very diverse kind of a team, and the one person should be what you want, having clarity on what you want as a team, what you need to do as a team, and then fitting the right people to address each component to reach the target. So such things, nowadays, now that I look back, if I had the time back then, if I had invested a bit more in myself, and probably I would have been a better manager, person, and leader as well 5 years before then and now, so but it's always in hindsight, things are always...
of course. But I mean, as I say, you've done incredibly well, and you remain humble, so that's part of being a good leader, let's be honest. But yeah, thank you so much. Great advice, and thanks for being on the Port to Port podcast.